Hello, good morning, and welcome to this, the WP Builds weekly WordPress newsletter. This is number 76. It covers the weekly WordPress news for the week commencing the 12th of August 2019, and it was published on Monday, the 19th of August 2019. Few things before we begin. Head over to wpbuilds.com, that is to say the homepage of the website, and right at the very, very top, you'll notice next to the big words WP Builds podcast, we've got a whole bunch of blue buttons. They're labeled things like Apple, YouTube, Slack, Spotify, and this is just a very quick way of enabling you to be notified of anything that we're doing. So, for example, you could subscribe on a podcast player or get our newsletter, look at the RSS feed if your podcast player only accepts those, and so on and so forth. So go and check that out. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to follow what we're doing. Another way of following what we're doing is to go over to wpbuilds.com/subscribe. A couple of newsletters, one to alert you about this, the WordPress Weekly News, plus the podcast on Thursday. And also there's a deals newsletter, which we send out as soon as we know about a WordPress deal. It just saves you the hassle of subscribing to all those email lists, because I do it and then send the details out to you as soon as I hear about them. Also join our Facebook group on that page, 2,100 WordPressers, all talking about WordPress. It's a very nice group, and it's so far been very polite and entertaining to be involved in it. The other link, I suppose, is wpbuilds.com/deals. Over on that page, you'll find just heaps and heaps of WordPress products with percentage coupons off. You can click on the links and go and apply the coupons. It's a bit like Black Friday, but every day of the week. So if you're in the market for buying something this week, go check that out. And lastly, wpbuilds.com/advertise if you would like your product or service mentioning and putting in front of a wider audience, a bit like Kinsta have done. The WP Builds podcast is brought to you today by Kinsta. Are you tired of unreliable or slow hosting? If so, check out Kinsta, who takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, all their plans include PHP 7, SSH and 24/7 expert support. And you can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And we do thank all of our sponsors, because they really do help keep the WP Builds podcast going. Okay, that's it for me. Just before we begin, actually, one more thing. Join us, if you get this on a Monday, join us at 2 p.m. UK time, where we'll be doing a live version. We go through, I have some notable people from the WordPress community joining me live. If you go to our Facebook group or YouTube channel, you should be able to see it there. I've also tried to put it live on the WP Builds website over at wpbuilds.com/live, so you might want to try that as well. But there's links in case it doesn't work over to the YouTube channel and the Facebook group, where it definitely will be. Okay, let's get stuck into the news, shall we? Our news is always lumped into different sections, and the first one is always WordPress core, and I found one piece this week to do with that, and it's over on the WP Tavern website, entitled Gutenberg 6.3 improves accessibility with new navigation and edit modes. Sarah Gooding over there is writing about how 6.3 has improved, and it says version 6.3 introduces new navigation and editor modes to address long-standing problems navigating the block UI with a screen reader. And the idea is that you would enter, the builder, the Gutenberg editor, will enter navigation mode by default from now on, and then by pressing the tab key or using the arrows on your keyboard, you'll be able to move up and down through the blocks that you've got on a page. And then if you wish to escape from that mode, you simply hit the escape key. Apparently, prior to this, it was an absolute disaster trying to navigate things with a screen reader, so hopefully this has improved things. The other notable updates in 6.3 are support for text alignment in the table block columns, border color support for the separator block, and improvements to the block preview component. So there you go, nice little improvements, especially if you are an advocate or in need of accessibility support. The next few pieces come under the banner of community, so we try to lump things like WordCamps and so on into this. And the first one is entitled on the wpbuilds.com website, at least anyway, Foolish English Folk Ride 3,000 Kilometers for a Great WordPress Cause, WP and Up. And if you click on that link, you're taken over to a domain called head2.org. And it says cycling 3,000 kilometers from Germany to Portugal to raise awareness of positive mental and physical health. So the idea is that some very foolish people, I would say, are going to be riding from the WordCamp Europe venue, which was the Estrel in Berlin. That was to say the WordCamp Europe this year, 2019. And they're going to be riding to the 2020 venue, which is the Superboc Arena, which is in Porto, Portugal. And apparently it's 3,000 kilometres. And a little list of the riders tells me it's a chap called Dan Maybe and another chap called Nathan Wrigley. Well, goodness me, I mean, what are they thinking? Anyway, it's for a good cause. I've got myself an exercise bike and I'm starting to take this a little bit more seriously. But head over to that website, have a look at it. It's head2.org. And maybe, if you're feeling generous, you could click on the donate button and add a few dollars to the cause. The next article comes on the jeffc.me website. It's entitled My Final Goodbye to the Tavern. Jeff Chandler has been producing WP Tavern, which is just the most fantastic website for WordPress news, for 12 years apparently, and this week he's decided finally that he's going to step away. In the article it says that he's tried to step away on various occasions, but this time he's actually managed to do it. He's rescinded his capability to log into the website and so on and so forth, and so it's really happening. He points out that he's had a lot of support from Automattic because Matt decided to buy WP Tavern. I think it was about 5 years ago. And he's just sort of saying his final farewell. And I would like to echo lots and lots of tweets and things that I read this week just to say thank you, Jeff. I think you've done an amazing job. And although what you do might be nothing to do with WordPress, maybe it will be. I certainly would wish you every success. There's also linked in the show notes for this podcast his tweet announcing that as well. So you might want to go and click on that and you could perhaps reply to that tweet. But anyway, good luck, Jeff. A couple of things about WordCamp US this week. The first one, they're all at 2019.uswordcamp.org. And the first one is called Community Track Round 3, announcing community track presenters, focusing on the next generation. At WordCamp US this year, apart from the regular WordPress presenters, there's also going to be a track focused on the community, and it's going to be called the Community Track, and it's going to focus on meetups, WordCamps, diversity, inclusion, and kids/youth. Don't forget that you can bring your kids to Kids Camp, and there's also free childcare. But there's a couple of talks that have already been organised called, the first one is How to Organise Events for Youths, and it explains how you're going to be setting up WordCamp style events for the younger generation. And there's another one called How the WordPress Community Can Embrace the Next Generation. What are the specific things that parents or teachers can do with WordPress to incorporate it into the curriculum? So that's very, very nice indeed. And the other one, again on 2019.us.wordcamp.org, is the schedule for WordCamp US 2019. It's coming up now, not long away, few months, and there's a whole great list on this page. If you click on the links within that page, it'll take you to all of the things that are happening and the possibility to still buy some tickets as well. There's a huge array of talks on, as you would expect, including right at the very end, the State of the Word from Matt Mullenweg. So go and check it out and you can start to get excited about it and possibly put things in your calendar for what you would like to attend. Now, I'm a little late to the party on this one because it's already started by the time you read this, but over on the WP Tavern we have a piece entitled Attend the Great WP Virtual Summit for free, August the 19th to the 23rd. So this is a bit like a WordCamp, but it's online. It's a virtual thing. It's taking place, well, it's already started by the time that you're listening to this, although I'm not entirely sure what the time zones are and so on. But Anshin LaRue began this, and she's got this idea that she would like people to be able to access things irrespective of where they live on the planet. And so there is a link in there that you can go and sign up for. Interestingly, some nice speakers, including Paul Lacey, who's very, very often on the WP Builds live that we do on a Monday. Other people like Simon Kelly, Matthew Rodella, Jonathan Bossinger, and Mike Killen, all people who've been on the WP Builds podcast. Very nice indeed. So go check it out. I'm not entirely sure what the process is, but it looks like you just click some buttons and sign up, and you'll be able to get access to all of that amazing content. Very nice indeed. An interesting piece of news over on the poststatus.com website entitled Automattic. The maker of WordPress.com has purchased Tumblr. I have to confess, I've never been a big user of Tumblr, but apparently Automattic has acquired Tumblr for somewhere in the region of $3 million. And considering it was purchased just a few years ago for $1.1 billion, that's quite a sizable reduction. Apparently a lot of the content that's on that site is of an adult nature, and Matt, although he says that on a personal level he's got fairly liberal views about this, there are things that he's possibly going to change. His 4 bullet points are to move infrastructure off Verizon, who was the owner until recently, support the same APIs on both WordPress.com and Tumblr, switch the back end to be WordPress, and open source Tumblr.com client to have something that's similar to WordPress's Calypso. Now, this is interesting. The very largest purchase that Automattic have done until now was $30 million for WooCommerce several years ago. This is probably going to cost them that each year just in salaries, because they're bringing over about 200 employees. So we'll have to see how all of this works out. I've got a second post over on Matt, MA.TT, so that Matt Mullenweg's blog, called Tumblr the Day After, where he talks about all of the things that have been talked about. He talks about the fact that Verizon have been really good about it. They could have flipped this for an awful lot more money, but they decided to, if you like, do the right thing and give it to WordPress, which has obviously a vested interest in publishing online. But it's just a really interesting acquisition. I just have no idea where this is going to go. So watch this space, especially if you're a Tumblr user. But hopefully, over the next few years, we'll get a whole load of new people joining on to WordPress. Well, it would appear that Automattic have got their wallet open this week, because we have something else on WP Tavern entitled Automattic acquires ZeroBS CRM, considers rebranding it as Jetpack CRM. Never used this, but Automattic has acquired a plugin called ZeroBS CRM. It's got over 30 commercial extensions, and apparently, although it's not very widely used with just over 1,000 active installs on WordPress.org. Apparently the Automattic team had used it themselves because they were, in inverted commas, a happy customer, and decided that this was something that they needed within their suite of products. So they've bought it. Got no idea how much that was for, but they're going to rebrand it, and potentially it's going to be called Jetpack CRM. And although it's got close integrations with WooCommerce, with lots of extensions for WooCommerce, that may or may not be the future. Anyway, the point is we now have a CRM under the Automattic banner, so more watch this space to see what's going to be going on with this. Back again on WP Tavern, this time for a piece called WordPress Theme Review Team Scraps Trusted Authors Program due to gaming and inconsistent reviews. It was about a year ago, just over a year, maybe something like 18 months, that the theme review team decided to implement the Trusted Authors Program. The idea was to speed up the process of reviewing themes, and if you were able to submit a theme that had fewer than 3 issues, you were going to be included in this Trusted Author program, and then you would be fast-tracked, and your themes from then on would be reviewed much more quickly. Well, apparently this didn't really work, and the whole system started to be gamed. People were kind of duplicating themes and so on and so forth. So nefarious things were going on. So the review team, apparently behind closed doors, decided to implement a change so that if you wanted to be a part of the Trusted Authors program, you would have to yourself be reviewing themes, and apparently they were blindsided by this because there was no consultation. Anyway, it's all ended up as a bit of a mess, and it would appear that now this whole program has gone away. So we'll have to wait and see. What happens, whether there's something else, because really, I think this queue system is extremely long. There's thousands and thousands of themes being submitted every month, and there's simply not the staff to handle it. So something's got to be done, and this apparently wasn't it. A little bit of a self-promotional piece here from WP Engine. They have an article entitled WP Engine Platform Becomes 40% Faster, making it the unequivocal performance leader in WordPress. Well, I guess if you understand hosting, you'll know whether this claim is true or not, but they say today they've announced that they have become the first WordPress digital experience platform to adopt Google Cloud Platform's newest infrastructure, the Compute Optimized Virtual Machines, VMC2. With these enhancements, WP Engine's platform offers performance that is 40% faster than anyone else in WordPress. Well, I'm sure that the rivals will disagree. Anyway, if you're on WP Engine or you are thinking about making a change in the near future to a different host, you might want to go and check this out for yourself to see just how long this lasts and whether or not the other solutions jump onto this. I confess I don't really have an understanding of Google Cloud's platform or what this really means, but anyway, that's the claim that they're making this week. Zach Gordon this week has announced his JavaScript for WordPress bootcamp. The page that I'm linking to is a registration page. The whole process is going to start in about a month, Monday the 9th of September. It's 12 weeks in length, and you'll need to have the capability to use things like Zoom and Slack. Costing $497. It's a 12-week program, and the idea is that you get weekly check-ins on Slack on a Monday, and then you do a Zoom call for 1 hour on a Tuesday, and then another one on a Thursday, and then finally you have a check-in on Slack on a Friday. So it's really very interactive. And then during the last 2 weeks, so that's weeks 1 to 10, the last 2 weeks, weeks 11 and 12, you'll be instructed in building a real-world project. And obviously, Zach Gordon has plenty of experience using JavaScript, particularly with WordPress. So if you're interested in getting your JavaScript chops up to speed, then this might be a nice, affordable way of doing it in a very short 3-month burst. Go check it out. Database nerds, rejoice, because over on the Pagely website this week we have an article entitled "We benchmarked Amazon's new Aurora database for use within WordPress, and the results are within." And it says, I quote, "As an Amazon Advanced Technology partner, we get a first look at Amazon's new products and tools. At last year's reInvent, Amazon announced a new database product called Aurora, which promised 5x performance gains on the same hardware and would act as a drop-in replacement for MySQL. Well, apparently, on average, it works 3 times faster than MySQL RDS when used with WordPress, but still quite impressive. To be able to speed up database calls by 3x is pretty impressive." And the article explains the technicalities of what they did, how they did their benchmarking and testing, and what their final results were. And I won't spoil it for you, but if you're into databases and you're using Amazon's infrastructure, this would certainly be worth looking at. WP Tavern again, this time for new mycamp.rocks newsletter launches with tips for conference organisers, speakers and attendees. And whilst we've got loads of WordPress news, for example this, we don't have anything particularly focused on those areas. So over at mycamp.rocks, which is a domain, you can now sign up, and it's going to offer conference organisers, speakers and attendees a WordPress newsletter which is designed to drill down into community event topics, and it'll be sent out every Tuesday. So there you go. It's all from David Bissett. So go and get yourself signed up if you are organising things or would like to be organising things. Right, let's change gears a little bit. Now we're going to move on to our plugins and themes section. And the first one we've got is on the Elementor.com website entitled "Celebrating 3 million active installations." Well, it just goes to show, doesn't it, what you can do. Elementor now have 3 million active installations, and it took only 6 months to go from the previous milestone of 2 million. Absolutely astonishing growth. They have a fun fact. It says this actually means that every 10 seconds a new website is set up with Elementor. So the article doesn't say much more than this. It is simply just saying, wow, this is quite amazing. Look what we've done. And so, yeah, plaudits to them. Bravo to Elementor for getting to 3 million installs. WooCommerce has been updated to version 3.7. You can find this out on woocommerce.wordpress.com, and I've also linked in the show notes to WP Tavern's article about the same thing. But essentially, we've got an update. It's been worked on since April 2019, over 1,290 commits from 22 contributors. It's called a minor release, so it should be back compatible with absolutely everything that you've got installed so far. The key points are there's a product block, which has got a new focal point picker on the featured product block, a new product categories list block, a new featured categories block, and a new products by tag block. You've also got updates to the minimum PHP requirements, as with the rest of WordPress, and there's been significant performance improvements, as well as content email setting options have changed, and auto coupon code generation has also been added. So quite a nice update. Go and check it out if you're using WooCommerce. I would definitely read all this stuff before you go and update if you haven't done already. It's just nice to be aware. So yeah, brilliant. Subscribers to WPMU Dev will like to read that they've got a new article this week called WPMU Dev 2019 Q3 Roadmap. It's getting better all the time, and they list all of the things that have improved in the last period. So Defender, SmartCrawl and Hustle all got new features, brand new white labeling. Hummingbird includes a mobile first performance report, and there's various other things as well in there. And then they've got articles looking at the future. They're going to update their hosting in the near term. Hummingbird 2.1 will be coming out, Brander 3.2 and SmartCrawl 2.4. And changes to the WPMU Dev dashboard will also be coming out as well. So some nice changes, and good to know if you're using WPMU Dev. Good to have all of that recent information and updates all in one place. Any users of the Breezy page builder might be interested in this article, which is over on TranslatePress. It's actually called Translate Breezy Page Builder Sites using TranslatePress. I have to confess I've not used TranslatePress, but I must say I'm beguiled by what I'm seeing of the capabilities of it. It's a bit like a page builder for translating websites into multiple different languages. And so obviously this article explains how you can use the Breezy page builder and TranslatePress in tandem to translate your pages into a variety of different languages. I can't explain how that's done because it's all with screenshots and so on. But yeah, go check it out if you're using either of those things, or you've never heard of TranslatePress. You might want to go to their main page to see just how different their take is on translating things in WordPress. If you're creating websites for clients, a nice stream of income is to have them on maintenance plans. And one of the nice things to be able to do with those maintenance plans is offer your clients support, and plugins like Project Huddle enable that to happen very, very easily. So Project Huddle have a new update. It says goodbye logins, hello easy, and Andre Gagnon goes on to explain that from now on, getting the clients to be able to log in will be as simple as them logging into their own website. Presumably in the past this was not the case, and you needed them to log into your sort of central Project Huddle dashboard. There's also the capability to have WordPress admin commenting, so you can put comments into the WordPress admin, which is a nice feature. As soon as they log in, they'll be in the WordPress admin. Guest commenting is also added now, so that they don't need to be logged in. You can select that as an option. And there's a centralized task dashboard. It's completely white labeled. And so, yes, some very nice updates from Project Huddle. And yeah, well done, Andre. So the last piece in the plugin section is over at iThemes. It's called Plugin Roundup August 2019. And although I have done my best to update you about all sorts of plugins and themes this month, I've left a lot on the table because I can't do them all. And so iThemes have done this job for me. So go and check that out. It's got a list of little thumbnails so you can quickly search for the plugins that you may or may not be using. And they talk about what has been updated during this previous month. We're about to change section, and so now we're going over to talk about security, but oddly we're staying with iThemes, because iThemes also, not only do they produce updates about themes and plugins and so on, but they also have a security update, and this is the August Part 1 2019, and again, it's set out in exactly the same way. Because I'm doing a light touch on security these days in our WordPress weekly news, go and scroll through this and very quickly you'll be able to see the thumbnail images for the different plugins. So for example, I can see there's Ultimate Member, there's Give, WP and so on. Just go and check that out to see if any of the plugins that you're using have had vulnerabilities that iThemes know about this week. ZDNet, or ZDNet, I suppose, if you're in North America, tell us this week about new Windows malware can also brute force WordPress websites. There's a strain of malware called Clipser, which, usually malware on a Windows computer is after things like encrypting your files or getting at your cryptocurrency wallet, but there's been a discovery that it's also trying to launch brute force attacks against WordPress websites, and whilst this behavior is very, very unusual, it's not entirely without precedent. Anyway, the point is this is happening. Obviously WordPress is a big attack surface, and so people are now targeting Windows computers so that they can attack your WordPress website. Over on the WPSec website this week, we have an article entitled Cracking WordPress Passwords with Hashcat, and it explains how you can crack complex passwords with a tool called Hashcat. It's just fascinating using the command line how you can do this stuff and how trivially easy it is. And then they've left a little Easter egg at the end. They've left you with a hash of a password with the idea that you would try this out for yourself in order to discover that you can hack your own set of passwords. But amazing that this stuff can be done at all by somebody just following a blog article. The self-promotional section this week from WP Builds is that we released episode number 141 of the podcast. It was a follow-up to last week's number 140, believe it or not. That was entitled Feeling Insecure About Security, Part 1, and this is Part 2. And in this episode, we go on to explain about all of the different tools that we've used in the past. We're no experts on this, but David and I talk about plugins such as WordFence, iThemes, WebArcs, SecuPress and so on, and how we've used them in the past and what experiences we've had. Perhaps you could go to the wpbuilds.com website and add your own opinions. Well, that's all the WordPress news I've got for you this week, but we always finish off with a few pieces of not WordPress but useful anyway, and so the first one is over at Inc.com entitled Google just revealed a brilliantly simple trick to totally destroy telemarketers. I'm sure that you've received all sorts of robocalls in the past, and seemingly there's no way of stopping it because you pick up the phone and obviously you're going to be listening to whatever is at the other end. Well, Google have come up with a really ingenious and yet straightforward and simple solution, which they're building into their Android Pixel 3 phone. The idea is that Android will, or the Google Assistant I should say, will actually answer the call on your behalf when you click a button called Call Screen, and it will then say, hi, the person you're calling is using a screening service from Google and will get a copy of this conversation. Go ahead and say your name and why you're calling. The idea is that obviously somebody that you know will say something meaningful. Google will immediately transcribe what they say and print it onto your Android screen. You can then read that in real time and then click answer call. Obviously, if it's something that you think, no, this is a bit bogus, you can then just dismiss the call. So obviously it adds a little bit of an impediment to people calling you. You might get irritated by this extra step, but it would stop it were it to be widely adopted. The final piece that I've got for you this week is over on the Mozilla website, foundation.mozilla.org, entitled How to Opt Out of Human Review of Your Voice Assistant Recordings. So if you've got an Apple, I think they're called Apple HomePods or Siri, or you're using Google Home or Amazon's Alexa, did you know that in many cases you are being listened to by humans? Because as The Guardian reported at the end of July, this kind of stuff is being reviewed by human beings as a sort of quality control measure. They say that Apple has temporarily suspended this program. Google has been forced to pause it in the EU only. and Amazon is now giving the ability to opt out. Well, Mozilla has said, no, we want the ability to figure this out for ourselves. And so this article is doing exactly that. It explains how, if you've got an Amazon or a Google or an Apple device, how it is that you might go in and amend the settings so that this option is no longer available. I do find it a bit spooky because apparently it says that deeply personal events such as conversations with doctors, sexual encounters and other moments have been reviewed by human beings. So a little bit strange, especially if you've got them in parts of your house where you would like privacy to be of a premium. There we go. That's all I've got for you this week. I hope you managed to find something useful in there. I really, really do. We put this out every single Monday at 7 a.m. UK time. But also at 2 p.m. this very same day, we'll be doing our live version of this in the Facebook group, or you can go to wpbuilds.com/live and hopefully see it there. And if not, click on the links to watch it live on either YouTube or in the Facebook group. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by Kinsta. Kinsta takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, your site is secured like Fort Knox and runs on speed, obsessive architecture. You get access to the latest software and developer tools such as PHP 7, SSH and staging environments. And the best part, their expert team of WordPress engineers are available 24/7 if you need help. So you can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. Okay, maybe see you back here next Monday. If not, maybe for the podcast on a Thursday. And if I don't see you for any of those things, maybe drop into the Facebook group or leave a comment somewhere on the website. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.